Hello and welcome to Dopey, the podcast about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit. And I am Dave, and I am very excited and honored to have a man who's been on Dopey twice before, the grandfather of our beloved friend Chris, T-Dub, runner of Adventures in the what's it called? Adventures in Recovery? Adventures in the Wilderness?
Adventure Recovery.
Adventure Recovery. Fucking how many years clean?
27 in March.
27 years clean. Fucking Tim Walsh. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Dave. Honored to be here. What a trip.
Yeah.
Being here. And, last time we talked basically was after Chris's wake, really.
It was. We all got together after Chris's
that
wake.
That was awesome, by the way. I love that, doing that show that night. Or that group just telling the stories. That was awesome.
It was a real way to honor Chris, and it's just very hard. Obviously, every time I do the show, like I guess I'm getting used to it. Like I'm sure everybody who was in Chris's life is getting used to going on without him. But every time I do the show, I get that pang of pain and sadness when I reach for the gear and don't have him. And I have him on my fridge. So every time I open the fridge, I just kind of look at him and I'm like, man, because I also have I have a lot of sadness and I have a bit of anger that it happened. You know, I have, you know, because he was my partner in this thing and I really relied on him, you know.
Oh yeah, he's a fucking asshole for abandoning you.
I know.
Right? I mean, it's okay to say that. It's okay to feel that way. And by the way, you should put the picture on the freezer because God knows that's the way to honor him, where you get his Ben & Jerry's.
That's true. That is a good point. I will move him over. He's also he's too close to the action on the fridge. He's in the tuxedo, you know, on the fridge, and it's like, give me a break. It's like, you know, but I obviously I met Chris when you were in charge of Mountainside, and you were this very, like, when I met you, you seemed to be, and I didn't know you, I just sort of observed from afar. You seemed this very straight-laced, go-get-'em guy until Tim took us to the wilderness to get into a sweat lodge. And I was like, what is this? And it was an amazing experience. And were you always into that kind of, like, primitive recovery adventure stuff, or did it sort of grow on you as you got time?
No, like from the jump, I went back to the woods in a sense, because as a kid I always ran around the woods. That was my sanctuary. So I had lost that, of course, towards the end of my using. But when I got sober, I was sober at High Watch Farm in Kent, Connecticut, which is considered the original 12-step retreat. Luckily for me, back then it was real simple. You know, the rules were make your bed, do your chore, go to 3 meetings a day, don't talk to the girls, and don't get fucked up. And so that was, you know, even though those 5 rules, it was still hard to keep my head on straight.
Yeah.
But I actually got a job working in the kitchen in the first 2 weeks. Actually, my third week there, because one of the cooks got drunk, and the guy who ran the kitchen was like, I just need a day off. You're a cook. So I got to stay there for a full year. And my daily routine was basically run through the woods down to Kent Falls, which is a beautiful waterfall in Connecticut, and sit on top of just run basically as a form of exercise / just kind of, you know, try to shut my brain off. And then sit at the top of the falls. And I had no idea this is what I was doing, but basically learning to meditate, you know, just learning to sit still and just let my brain kind of shut down and pay attention to the natural world.
Yeah.
And, you know, looking back at what that did for me is it was a reset. It just kind of reminded me of that passion of being out in the woods. So one of the first jobs I got out of there was working for an outdoor education company. It was just a kind of a fluke. I was working in a snowboard shop, trying to become a pro snowboarder. And these guys came in the springtime with a bunch of brochures. I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool. You know, they're like, what skills do you have? I'm like, I can coil rope. So,
like I can eat ounces of mushrooms and go berserk by a fire.
I can totally lose my shit in the fucking woods. But, so I got lucky and they gave me an opportunity, and it was just a natural fit. I jumped right into it.
Well, I remember the first time you came on the show, you told that crazy, epic, psychedelic story of oblivion by the fire with the trip in the woods. And how much, like, because the psychedelia that exists in nature is always so obvious and overwhelming. Would you say there was like a big connection between the way you like to get high and then kind of actualizing that life of adventure and wilderness and stuff? Like, was there a crossover between the two?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I tell people I haven't stopped using dope. I just, you know, I'm on the real shit now, you know. I'm on the straight 100% dopamine now.
The uncut.
The uncut, you know. I don't have people stepping all over my shit. I'm out there getting it straight. So it's absolutely fact that the more time you spend in nature, and connecting to just that fundamental source of life, you're going to become more and more aware of how good you really got it. And that's kind of, to me, it's like, you know, there's the whole kind of movement right now that addiction, the opposite of addiction is connection, right? I think a big reason why Dopey's taken off is because of connection that you guys created, right? You created a platform of connection. And so being outdoors, we've been literally mythologized out of our relationship with nature. You know, everything we were taught as kids is to be afraid of the dark, to be afraid of
the wild,
to be afraid of the wild, to be afraid of the creepy crawlies, right? And the things that go bump in the night and all that shit. And but when you get out there and you spend time out there, you get past that initial kind of irrational fear. You begin to download a lot of very simple information, which is, you're surrounded by life, right? You're surrounded by the life cycle. And most everything that's out there is buzzing. You know, there's a lot of energy.
Right.
So the more time you spend in it, and then the more time you learn how to play with it, you know, really is what I'm all about. The more you just kind of, shit just doesn't faze you. You know, you don't get all hung up in a lot of the day-to-day shit that our society likes to fucking make up. You know.
So it's like a lesson. You learn how to not you could take a city, like a New York City neurotic Jew like me, and throw me in the wild for like a few months, and I'll think like a third less. I'll worry about like what I said a little bit less because the chi of the wilderness will remind me of what's important. This sounds
totally.
Good.
Guaranteed.
I could use
absolutely guaranteed. But the trick is, right? The longer you've been in the fucking concrete jungle, the longer you got to be in the woods. Right?
Yeah, I've got like 44 years, man. I've got.
So you better start now, brother.
I know. I was raised on the 21st floor. But I am open to stuff. I find like there's a lot of action. Like I the way I empty my head is I walk, and I tend to walk around Manhattan just because I just do. And there's so much life there. It's just obviously not the same kind of life. But we live in Suffolk County by the Great South Bay. And there's some trails here. I've been actually hiking, and we went to some nature preserve recently. You'd be proud of me. I'm stretching my wings a little bit.
I listened to an episode recently where you talked about that. You like just briefly mentioned it. I think it was with Mark Maron.
Yeah, Maron. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. He's never going to hear you say his name wrong. It's okay.
Where you mentioned something about being like in the woods, and I gave you a big. Yeah, Yahoo! Go Dave.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like it's an amazing. Like, I don't know. For me, like I was a heroin addict. I am a heroin addict. You know, everybody knows that listens to the show. I was on methadone. I was on pills. I was a stoner. I was this. I was that. And I was in a lot of pain, obviously. And like when I got clean, it gave me freedom, and I didn't recognize the freedom for a long time, and the freedom is just starting to like take hold in me. And like tonight, like I buy my family dinner like many nights a week, but every time I go to the Japanese restaurant to buy them dinner, I think to myself, what freedom I have, and it's all because of being sober. You know, I love it. It's just an amazing thing for me. And last week we had Andy Dick on. Okay,
dude, I haven't heard that yet. I got to hear that.
It's pretty much a mess. There's a lot of
it's Andy Dick.
Yeah,
it's right. It's that simple.
Well, he's not in recovery at the moment, and like me and Chris had a rule about Dopey, and the rule, and of course Chris broke the rule. We had like two rules. One was don't upset my wife, and the other rule is you have to not be using on the show. And we always decided that if somebody was famous, they could upset my wife or use on the show. That was kind of the deal. And Andy Dick was, he said he wasn't drunk on the show, but he also said he was not in recovery, and he drinks and he smokes weed, and he sounded fucking wasted. And I didn't know a way to phrase come back to recovery in any way besides maybe you should go to a meeting. I said that to him a bunch of times, and like, I did not like AA forever. I was scared of AA. I felt uncomfortable in AA. Now I like AA, but I can see why people would have a problem with AA because it's scary and culty, and, people who are drug addicts and alcoholics tend to be defiant and they don't want somebody telling them what to do. But like, AA saved my life, so like, and Andy Dick is in trouble, so like, that was where my head went. Like, if you're talking to somebody who's like out there, you talk to people who are out there way more than I do. How do you try to capture them, like, or how guide them? I mean, I don't even know the right word.
Well, what's funny is the term, the actual title, I guess, that we use in my company is Adventure Recovery Guides, right? So they're AR guides. And we settled on that term rather than coach or mentor.
Or counselor.
Or counselor, right? We're definitely not therapists.
Right.
And the reason being is a good guide knows the way, goes the way, shows the way, right? Uh-huh. but won't take away from the experience, the opportunities and lessons you get to learn on your own. And I think that's like a lost art, especially in the 12-step world. And basically the reason that is because the fucking treatment world co-opted it.
Right.
Right. So I think a big reason why a lot of people are hard up about 12-step and why they don't like it is because it was fucking crammed down their throats initially.
Right.
And most likely in a treatment setting or by some type of authority figure in their life that they already fucking didn't want to pay attention to anyway. So that's really unfortunate, right? Because one of the fundamental principles is attraction rather than promotion, right? So I think that, for a guy like Andy, knowing a little bit about Andy, he's probably been to fucking thousands of meetings. Maybe not.
I think so.
But he
so.
Probably has, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And when he sees other people get well and he hasn't, it's probably a hell of a sting.
It's incredibly painful for anybody, and I've been in that situation before. It took me forever to get any time, and when I first got time, I didn't even want it. I got time because I was like forced to get it, and I wanted to be high, and I was sitting in meetings like just wanting the time to go away, and I was like sitting on my hands, the way they say. But like, it's just weird, like, to preach it at all. Like, I'm not a preacher. It's not like my thing, but like, I don't like, I find that because it saved my life, I'd be an ass not to sing its praises to some way, Right. And that's the kind of double-edged sword of it, right? Yeah, I think it is.
And one of the main things I tell people is, you just do anything but AA. Do anything but NA. Do anything
right.
but.
Right.
Because it's the last fucking stop, man. You know?
Oh yeah, man. If I could have fucking like,
if you could do it any other way, do it any other way. But because eventually, trying everything else, that's where you're going to wind up. Don't go there first. Go there last, right?
Yeah, well, I think that's great advice. And like we have this Dopey Nation Facebook group where there's 700 people on the Dopey Nation Facebook group, and God bless them. I love that they're so involved with the show. But like, there's like, it's obvious that there are people in the Dopey Nation Facebook group that are sober, and then there are people in the Dopey Nation Facebook group that aren't sober. And like the ones who are sober, I think they all go to meetings for the most part. And they'll correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure. And the ones who aren't, don't. And I feel like it is the last house on the street or whatever, the last stop, because you need it. You know, I needed to make that stop, or I'd be fucking probably dead, or I certainly wouldn't be in my attic recording Dopey with you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
And again,
and for me, it was, I was 22 years old, and it was the first stop.
And
right?
what was the thing? What was the thing?
There were so many pieces, very small pieces of that puzzle that fit perfectly in that time frame that made it the perfect stop. I was already at 22 years old so fucking tired. I was just so self-disgusted. I was so homicidal and suicidal. It was crystal clear my path was prison and death. Those were the options. I wasn't going to make it on the street much longer. And by the way, I just have to quickly aside, one of the guys I'm working with right now, I turned him on to Dopey last week. And I just checked in with him before we got on the phone. And, he just went back to school. And I'm like, how's it going? He's like, it's brutal. I'm so ready to graduate, but I've been listening to Dopey a lot.
Right on.
So I'm just like, no shit, I'm on. So anyway.
That's cool. I love that.
Big shout out to Tommy, bro. Keep going, brother.
Right on, Tommy.
Stay strong, Tommy.
Definitely.
He listened to at least 10 episodes on the plane yesterday.
That's so funny. I used to make fun of people that listen to Dopey, like, just because it's like, how could you be trapped with me and Chris for that long? And but I mean, like, we had a lot of laughs. It's like
you guys were fucking gold, man. And Dave, by the way, you've done an amazing job keeping this going, and just huge kudos, bro. Huge. Just I have so much love and respect for the fact that you had every right and opportunity to walk away from this. And I'm not saying by any means that this wasn't as important to you as it was to Chris. In fact, I think it's more important to you than it was to Chris, quite frankly. But I'm really, really glad you've kept it going, and you've done a really great job keeping it going.
Well, thank you.
And Dopey Nation, I got to shout out to the whole nation too. That would not be the case if it wasn't for the nation, right?
Totally.
It's the perfect example of why we love AA, right? So for all you guys out there who are struggling with whether or not you hate, if you have that love-hate relationship or just a straight hate relationship, but you're fucking alone by yourself in a fucking closet, smoking crack or shooting dope or fucking just looking at your fucking belly button and feeling sorry for yourself, if that's where you're at, we get it. And that's why we go to meetings, because we know that every fucking person in those rooms knows that feeling. And I've done a lot of traveling, and I've been to meetings where they don't even speak English and felt completely at peace. Like, oh God, thank God I'm home. I'm okay. I'm safe. So like, I think the just sheer fact that the Dopey Nation continues to grow and continues to be so affected by what you guys have done speaks volumes to the fact that that's why we keep going back, right? The steps work, by the way, if you're curious.
Yes.
Anybody out there? They actually work. They're highly effective.
AA is way more effective with the steps, I would say.
Yeah. In fact, doesn't really exist in my opinion.
Exactly.
Whatever that is that you're doing without the steps, I don't know what that is. I don't know what you call that.
It's suffering. It's called suffering.
It's called suffering, but the steps work, and they work really well if you practice them in a hoop rather than in a linear, straight line.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Keep going, around and around and around. Don't stop.
Right.
So, have you heard of the Red Road of Wellbriety? The Red Road of the Native American community that's recovery oriented.
No, tell me about it, please.
Well, the very simple is that they write the steps in the hoop, in the medicine wheel or the sacred hoop, so that when you get at the end to 12, right, having had the spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, you're back to 1.
Right.
We admitted we were powerless over alcohol, right? And what I love about that is it's also that's what this is, right? It's, I had a change, I had a psychic change, I had a change in the way I think and the way I feel about myself and about the rest of the world, for the most part, right? I can still get pretty uppity about shit.
Did it hit you as soon as you got there? Did you get that feeling, or did it? I
got it when I did the second part, which is carry the message and practice these principles. Like, so, the spiritual awakening was the result of the steps, and then I kept. I actually achieved it, like really fully embodied it when I started helping the next guy and taking them through the steps specifically. Like, that's the other piece I tell people. So you've worked the steps? Yeah. Okay. And you went through the steps with a sponsor? Yeah. And you relapsed? Yeah. Well, how many people were you sponsoring when you relapsed? Oh, I wasn't sponsoring anybody. Well, then you're not working the steps.
I'm not sponsoring anybody.
Get out there and fucking sponsor somebody.
I got to sponsor somebody, man. I'm in big trouble all of a sudden.
No, you're not. It's just like that's the hoop, right?
Right. The sacred hoop.
Yeah.
Is it a sacred hoop or is it just a hoop?
Absolutely, it's a sacred hoop.
Do you ever want to poke holes through the spirit? Like, because I love to poke.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. The whole concept of taking any of this fucking seriously is ridiculous.
It's daunting too. It's ridiculous, but it's daunting. It's hard to do it for me.
But look at us, right? We're such a land of misfit toys that no one should ever be taking themselves so fucking seriously as to believe any of this shit. We should just get out there and practice it. Like, what I love about being a drug addict and having these deep, fucking, I'll go to war over my opinions, and my fucking values over shit. But, I'll buy some of the deadliest drugs ever made off of people I've never met in the fucking sketchiest places on the planet, and ingest them freely and willingly. And then turn around and sell them to fucking kids without any sense of moral obligation or ethical obligation to anything at any moment.
Or trust. Right? I mean, you'll trust that what you get in that block is going to make you feel the way you want to feel before you trust a million way more likely scenarios. Absolutely,
unequivocally. The shadier and darker and dirtier the fucking hole, the more fucking confident I am that this is going to go great.
Yeah, this is exactly what it's supposed to be.
This is going to go really well. Yeah, and so I just crack up when when people choose to engage in those arguments, and I'm real grateful for the sponsorship I had early on, which was I had a sponsor who would literally walk away from me when I had anything to say other than I've completed my homework.
Right.
You know what I mean? He was very cut and dry. My job is to take you through the steps. I can't help you with anything else. If you need a lawyer, get a lawyer. If you need a fucking marriage counselor, get a marriage counselor. If you need a therapist, get a therapist. If you need a doctor, get a doctor. My job is to take you through the 12 steps.
Now, yeah, you've been around treatment. How long have you been working around treatment? And
since my third week, right? I got a job in a fucking rehab working in the kitchen my third week.
So 27 years you've been around treatment.
Technically, I've been around treatment
26 years. Yeah, 26 years and change.
Now, it'll be a full 27 years in March.
So
right.
you've seen so many successes and failures, you know. Is there any, like, in my experience, you know, I've been around treatment because I've been through treatment, you know, however many times I've been through it. I've been around addicts because I am one, you know. I've seen, you know, success and failure, and I've never been able to predict either, ever. Do you find it easier to predict what's going to happen with somebody? Like,
no,
are there some, like, isn't that the hardest thing about this thing? Like, as somebody, as a professional in it?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, the concept of being a professional in this thing too, I think is bullshit.
Well, they pay you, you know, that makes you a professional.
But I get, but that's part of why I do what I do, right? Like, I created the business I created because I saw a huge opportunity, and, you know, a huge need where too many people sitting around rotting in church basements, too many young people especially, right? Too many people, young people coming into recovery and spending their first 5 years doing just shitty jobs that they hate, and, you know, going back to school just because that's what you're supposed to do, and fucking winding up with, you know, tens of thousands of dollars in debt and realizing they don't fucking want the degree they have anyway. And my whole thing is like, wait. Part of the reason why you're a fucking drug addict is because you're a radical, you know? Part of the reason you're a drug addict is because you're a fucking free-spirited knucklehead who does not follow the rules. What makes you fucking think that you have to follow all the rules to stay sober? You know, there's the spiritual rules I believe in, right? You know, trust, help, right? Trust, clean house, help others.
Right.
The whole higher power thing, I don't get into it anymore with anybody. Choose whatever you want, act accordingly. That's it. That's what that whole thing is. You figure that out on your own. But that's what that trust is about. You got to trust in some kind of process more than anything, right? The process that creates power in your life.
Well, you have to find it before you can trust it, though. That's one of the tricky parts right there.
You have to right, but you have to trust that it
can happen.
That's worth looking for. Is my point, right?
Yeah.
So you got to find a process that gets you there, right? That introduces you to it, so to speak. And then you got to clean your house. You got to clean up your shit, you know, and trust. Back to trust that you're never going to do it perfectly. I've yet to meet anybody even remotely close to, like, truly fucking humble and honest and fucking, you know, all the shit that I think the expectations
selfless and giving and kind and perfect and of course. Especially us. I mean, that's the biggest thing about it. It's like, that was the thing that I always would talk to with Chris about it. It's like, we were the worst, and now we're supposed to be these fucking Gandhi-like figures, and it's so unnatural, you know.
But we're not. But nowhere it says over and over again.
It says the opposite.
Literature. It says exactly the opposite.
Yeah, we are not saints. Right? Yeah, totally.
We are not saints. Practice, progress rather than perfection.
Right.
You know, all kinds of great shit. And then the help others, right? So you trust, clean house, help others. That's the fundamental core of every spiritual fucking practice, by the way. Every fucking religion has those three fundamental tenets. So it's not that this is a religious thing. It's just like, that's like the school of life, right? Trust that there's purpose in your life. Keep your shit clean so that you're not looking over your fucking shoulder, wasting energy. And then go fucking help people, you know, give back, give a little bit of yourself to your community. Do you ever find yourself in positions where you're not, like, where something is not right, like you're not trusting enough, or the house is not properly cleaned, like you find Totally. I tell people all the time, if you're gonna look to me to be some type of fucking, put me on any kind of pedestal, I really hope I'm awake when I fall off that fucker and land on top of you.
Right. Because it's not gonna work out.
I hope I'm not completely nodded out and miss that opportunity to see the look on your fucking face when I fucking flatten your ass. You know, it's ridiculous to assume that any of us are going to achieve anything even close, to the ideal. And by the way, whatever your ideal of me is, good luck with that. I don't even have an ideal for myself. So whatever you have for me, good luck with that.
Well, I'll tell you this, Tim.
Well, that's not true. I do have an ideal for myself. I want to be a really good dad to my kids.
Right.
Period. Everybody else, I love you, but fuck off.
Well, that's actually like an attainable thing. I find as a father, like that's something that I can always, like, I mean, I'm not a perfect father by any means. And and sometimes I can be a dick. But that's something that it's like pretty attainable. That's like a goal that I keep very present. But I want to say, though, this is probably the most recovery we've ever put into Dopey. Right here. This is it.
That's not true. You and Chris had some awesome conversations. Like, I how we all have the guilt, right?
Yeah.
What could we have said to Chris? We should have seen it. We should have said something. All that kind of shit. And I wasn't listening for a while before he died. But there were a couple that I listened to where I heard his fucking brain talking. Excuse me. And not his heart, Right. And I wanted to reach through the fucking dashboard and rip his fucking throat out.
Well, that was the end of Chris on Dopey. The end of Chris on Dopey was him turning to school and turning away from the program, him turning to this fucking psychobabble instead of into his heart. That was very much... And
knowing, and this is where Chris was conflicted. He knew he was going down that fucking rabbit hole, and he couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Right? So he was intellectually high. And then he got hurt, and then he was fucking physically high. Like hurt high, right? Pain high. You get what I'm saying? Right?
Yeah. But describe what the pain high is, though. I'm not sure I do get that.
Well, pain sick. It's the opposite, right? He was
needed something.
He was intellectually sick, then he was pain sick, right? Physical pain sick, and then he was emotionally sick, right? So what I mean by high is, we get high on our own shit, right?
Right. We
get high on our own self-delusion.
His misery. He got. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. He became submerged in that shit, and it was obvious. But like
he was caught out, right? That's a better term, probably. He was caught out on all of it, right?
Yeah.
He allowed himself to get caught out in these different areas, all simultaneously, right? And that's how it goes, right? People who have, and someone, I'm sure when I said, practice in the hoop, if you're not sponsoring people, you're not in the hoop, right? Well, Chris was sponsoring people, he got high. Like, I know there was somebody out there at Dopey, I heard their brain snap. Chris was fucking sponsoring dudes. But Chris was like, that's kind of like where the whole big book thing gets dangerous, right? I'm known as one of these guys who's a big book thumper. I do big book studies and all that shit. And the first thing I admit when I do a study is I'm opening this book today for the first time with this particular community, this particular group of people, and I'm looking at these first two blank fucking pages to remind me I don't know shit. Everything I think I know is bullshit because it's through the fucking lens of Tim Walsh.
Right.
And Tim Walsh suffers from the most debilitating mental illness on the planet, which is SFOS.
SFOS.
Yes, I am sincerely full of shit. I believe my own bullshit. Right?
I'm with you, man. I was going to tell you, but I'm glad you outed yourself on this.
That's right. So that's why we fucking hang out with each other, right? That's why we all, we find that community, we get tight with that community, and we tell that community, you have full permission to call me out any day of the week.
Right.
And if, I have a line where if you're concerned at all for my sobriety, call everybody. Call everybody.
Well, that was when you could really see it on Chris, because I called everybody, and he got pissed. And and I just
how you know you're right.
I know, but I didn't have enough experience, and he's cagey, and we were both so busy.
He's a grand wizard, bro.
Yeah.
He's the fucking grand wizard. That's why that whole story about him coming into my office.
Yeah.
It was so brilliant listening to that guy spin. I've yet to meet anyone as capable of spinning his own bullshit.
Well, that was his drug of choice, and
totally, yeah.
And I feel like in the end, sure, he had every fucking drug under the sun in the end, but the thing that got him high was that they thought he was this, PhD student. You know what I mean?
Right.
They thought he was getting away with it, and I know that's what was going right into his head. Not the drugs. That shit was the number one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you something just sort of practical, because we're in this fucking holiday time, and I'm hearing about a lot of dopey people who are relapsing, and they don't necessarily want to be, and everybody's like the holidays. Like, do you find in your experience that the holidays are it's obvious, I guess, that the holidays are some relapsing time? For me, it never was like that. I just would use. I was never affected by the time of the season because I just wanted to get high. But
right.
Are you finding what is it, just the traditional loneliness factor? Is it the family factor? What is your experience around holidays and relapsing and such?
What I think what I've seen is the holidays just create all kinds of stress. They pull on all the insecurities that a person who's struggling with sobriety is trying to weave together. They're all the tatters they're trying to put back together. So family relationships for sure, expectations around all that shit for sure. The financial aspect of it all, right? People feeling compelled that they have to go get gifts for everyone, that they have to show up with something. The expectations on the part of the person who's, created all kinds of fucking chaos in their family history, that they want everybody to forgive them because they're doing better,
Right. It's all that kind of pressure.
Right. People are still pissed, So I think there's so many layers around the holidays and family systems. I'm a big, 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 big fan of family work. If anybody out there in Dopey Nation is looking right now to get into treatment, I strongly encourage you find a treatment program that has a family component. Unfortunately, way too many of them don't. But if you can get lucky and get one that does, take advantage of it.
And encourage your family to participate. Because my buddy Todd, he went to some places and his family was tired of his bullshit and he didn't want to encourage them to participate, and the family never healed at all. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Participation is half the battle, and you don't realize it, and you don't think of it, but I guess just saying it here, if anybody's on the fence out there and they're looking for help, actually look for the help with your people, to bring them in, even though it's scary. You're going the route, you might as well go the full route.
Absolutely. And and then there's also the complete flip side of the coin. Get the fuck away from your family as quick as you can.
Right, because they're fucking crazy motherfuckers.
Because they're lighting you on fire.
Right.
So there's definitely two extremes here. But I think, it's all about expectations, man. The expectations we put on ourselves, trying to get sober, trying to get clean, and trying to fucking, like we were talking about earlier, live up to all these, ideals all of a sudden. The fucking walking in this world without drugs after being fucking drug addled for decades
is daunting.
All the sensitivity just all around you. So I think keep the expectations real simple. Always have an out, I think, is a huge thing. Again, back to meetings, right? You ever been to an alcothon?
Yeah.
Right?
I had nowhere else to go, and I would just go.
There's nothing better in the world than showing up at 3:00 in the fucking morning on Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving, and seeing who's in the room.
Because you're tied in. You're tied in with these people. They're your people.
Just it's like going to the fucking bar or going to the fucking shooting gallery, going to the crack house. It's the same fucking crew, right? It's the same people we sought out when we were going to get our drugs. At the same time, middle of the fucking night. But there's real magic there. The magic we were looking for in fucking getting high was the the false gods, right?
Yeah.
So I think anybody who's never done that should check it out. Do the social experiment. Get out there and check out one of these things.
Because what do you have better to do? Sit at home miserable, saying how everything sucks.
Right.
Get
pissed off at your whole family. Like if you find yourself, flipping the fucking turkey table during, Christmas dinner, walk out the door and go to one of these alcathons, or I don't know what they call them in fucking NA, but just get with your tribe, get with the community who understands all that shit.
Well,
and then from there, I think, it's all comes back around to we're here, right? Hold us accountable. Hold me and Dave accountable to what we're talking about with, I'm not currently sponsoring anybody through the steps. So hold us accountable. Look guys like us in the eye and say, you're here. You got this thing. Help me.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys should start, writing for Tim. I mean, Tim sounds like he'd be an amazing somebody to guide through the steps. I mean, he just put it out there. You guys know where to write me.
Dude.
This is going to be amazing. This is going to be an amazing experience for me. Now, I want to jump out in a second, but I don't think we really explained what you do for a living. Because I'll check out Tim on Instagram, and he's like in a raging river, jumping off of a rock, trying to land on a surfboard and busting his ass. But it's beautiful. So tell us what exactly you do, like real quick, because this will be very this is attraction here, right?
Yeah. Well, I'll walk you through today. This morning, out in the woods at 7 o'clock in the morning with my own kids and a group of kids at their school, where for an hour before school opens, we run around in the woods just being kids. And the concept there is, especially for the kids who have any attention issues, it sets their day up perfectly because they get all that fucking crazy energy out first thing, and the woods calms them down. It's the ultimate fucking knucklehead whisperer. So that's my morning. And then, little running around stuff. And then this afternoon I was in the river whitewater kayaking with one of my guides, one of the guys who works with me. It was kind of like a combination, check-in for him on stuff he's doing and people he's working with. It was a combination of holding each other accountable to a skill that we want to continue to get better at. Taking advantage of the high water that's out there right now. And by the way, we live in Connecticut. It's fucking freezing.
Right.
There's no better feeling in the world than getting in a whitewater kayak and blasting down these rivers with icicles dripping off our beards.
So junkies who are when you deal with.
Let me give you this guy. Let me give you this guy's quick experience. So this guy started working with me 2 years ago. And he was probably 30 pounds heavier than he is now, a couple years sober, working a shitty rehab job. And now this guy, in 2 years, like a little over a year and a half, he is kayaking at a level that many people don't get to, quite frankly, let alone are as skillful as he is, because he's put, you've seen this, Dave, numerous times. People who get sober and all of a sudden they fucking turn on fire, right?
Yeah. They
just become this like amazing human being in this area of their life that you'd never imagine.
Well, I feel like you're talking about me with Dopey. I mean, it's total. Exactly. It's a firestorm over here. It's a firestorm of podcasting.
It is. It's so true. I mean, Dave, how many people do you have? Do you know what your listenership is? I'm curious.
We get like 18,000 downloads a week.
That's insane.
We're going to hit 1 million downloads, I would say, before March. We'll hit 1 million downloads, which I'm very proud of.
That's incredible. That's fucking incredible.
I just wish.
You are.
I wish. I'm a firestorm of podcasting greatness. It's true. I can't contain myself. It's the truth. I totally wish Chris could have seen it, though.
Yeah, but he is seeing it. I believe that emphatically, by the way. as hokey as that may be.
He believed that too, so maybe he is.
I believe consciousness continues. So, Chris, I love you, fucking asshole. Proud of you, proud of Dave.
Right on.
Okay. So the whole concept of what we do is we work with groups. So we work with treatment centers, halfway houses, sober houses. We work with schools. We do like the kind of prevention and awareness type of stuff. But the main concept here is that whether you're out in a group setting or you're out one-on-one with a guide, the whole concept is we take you through this journey of being outdoors. We teach you a skill, right? So kayaking, climbing, paddleboarding, river surfing, ocean surfing, snowboarding, skiing, survival skills, whatever you want to learn, right? And it's all very driven by the individual, by the client, by the person who comes to us for these services. And then our goal is to be our tagline is in that area is, we want to be in your pocket for life as a resource, right? So no matter what, we're not changing our phone numbers. Once you're hooked up with one of our guides, you can always rely on us, right? So this guy, like I said, this guy I'm working with, texted him tonight, hey, how's it going being back at school? Boom, he's right on it, So when we're not out there in the field together, out in the woods, out in the rivers, mountains, wherever it is, we're keeping in touch, maybe going to meetings. A lot of folks come to us, don't go to meetings. It's one of those things like, it doesn't resonate with them. All right, well, cool.
That's the Church of the Great Outdoors is what it is.
Exactly, right, GOD, right, Great Outdoors. And we really believe that if you lock into one of these skills and it really resonates with you, it's going to light fire under your ass and you're going to want more. We bank on the dopey gene, of needing more of what feels good. Right. So we just keep turning it on,
Are most people like straight out of rehab that come to you, or nobody comes to you fucking detoxing and you throw them in the icy river?
Well,
although that could be a whole thing.
Actually, there have been a couple.
What was the worst story with that? Was there any funny fucking story where some dude is just strung out and you're like, surf the river, and he's like,
no, we're not cruel.
No, of course.
We're not cruel about it. But I did have one kid I was working with for a while. We were doing a lot of mountain biking, actually. And we actually went up to Vermont. The plan was to be up there for a full week, actually, and do some mountain biking, some kayaking. And the first fucking night, it's at his parents. His parents have like a ski house there. And his mom warned me, there's probably going to be booze in the house. So you might want to lock it up. And I completely forgot about it. So middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, this dude comes walking down the stairs. And he's like, dude, I'm like, yo, what's up, bro? Dude, I'm fucked up.
Right.
And I'm like, what's up, bro? I'm all fucked up. I'm drunk, bro. I'm like, Dash, show me the stash. I forgot about that. And sure as shit, there's like this box of, fucking just really crazy, expensive booze. I don't even know what it was, and he was just tearing into it. So I told him, I was like, there's 2 ways we can do this. I can leave it here and you can fucking keep going, or I can take it out of there and just put it in my room. And if you want more, you're gonna have to, come through me. But it's your choice. And he's like, yeah, man, get it out of here. I don't want to spend this whole week like this. It's like, all right, cool.
And that was that.
So that was that, right? So like that, and then we had a fucking awesome week. It was really cool, actually. We had some epic rides. We had a great couple days in the river. So, and what's crazy, so with us, there's 2 ways people get to us. Usually the younger guys come to us and gals come through some type of intervention, right? So they're in some type of therapeutic intervention, like the therapist or something, or they're in school and they're getting in trouble. So it's like, we call it prehab, right? So these are the guys and gals who are not quite ready for rehab, in my opinion.
Right.
And I'd really like to keep people out of rehab who don't belong in rehab,
right,
quite frankly.
Because rehab gives a lot of good kids bad ideas.
Yeah, right. Like it's like prison's Gladiator Academy, right?
Yeah.
Rehab is Knucklehead Academy. Yeah. So the concept there is, we don't we don't have an expectation that they are, they choose their own path of recovery. They choose their own concept of recovery. If they don't even identify with recovery, what we say is, well, at least you can recover your own spirit of adventure, because it sounds like the shit you're doing isn't very fun, right? So we always boil it down to, how much fun are you having? Not a lot. Sucks getting in trouble. All right, well, let's go have fun. But our one core rule is, and this is just an outdoors education standard, is you don't go out high, right? So you don't go in the field high.
Because it's dangerous. It's not practical to do that. Yeah.
It's just, right. You're already engaging in risky experiences, or at least highly perceived risky experiences that can change on a dime. So you want to be, you want to have your shit together. So what happens is, a lot of the younger crew we work with, it takes years, literally, of them, fucking around, getting in a little trouble, straightening up a little bit, fucking around, getting in trouble. Like, it's the typical path. But what we try to do is help them stretch out those lengths of time in between screw ups, right? And then no matter what, when they screw up, we're always right there, and we're not there with the shame and the, you fucking asshole, I can't believe you did this again. We're there with the, like, hey man, how's it going?
Right.
You want to get back on the river?
Right. We had fun together, didn't we? It was a good time. It was a good experience. And that's probably an incredibly, rewarding experience for you. It keeps you young. It keeps you out of bureaucratic bullshit. It's like the perfect thing for you. Like, it's the opposite of all the other things that
running a fucking insane asylum full of drug addicts. Yeah.
And trying to make it as close to that experience without being able to make it that experience. So you were like, fuck it, I'm going to cut out the middleman and just take people where I want to go.
Exactly.
Which is
then
beautiful.
I want to, and my big mission is to train as many people as I can to become, dirtbag outdoor educators.
The dirtbag guides.
Our real, like, the tagline we're most proud of is, we'll take you from scumbag to dirtbag in 90 days.
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, but you got to commit. You got to commit the full 90.
So where do they sleep?
Most of the stuff we do is outside. So camp out.
90 days camping out?
Well, we've yet to have anybody take us up on the full 90-day challenge.
Okay. What's the usual stay?
It's not a treatment program, right? So most of the individual clients we get hook up with a guide on a minimum once a week, right? So they're in their life already, whatever that life looks like.
Right.
And we come into that life for, like tomorrow I got a guy going out in the afternoon. We're actually going to be on the river again. And then Thursday I'm going snowboarding with a guy all day. So that's the kind of individual work. And then the groups they're the kind of pre-existing, programs. So treatment center, halfway house, whatever it might be. We work with a lot of those programs.
Right, they plug in with you where it's the day. It's like, instead of equine therapy, we're going to go fuck around with these dirtbags in the woods.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
And what we hope when they're with us, and it's not a hard sell, is once they get back, they're like, oh fuck, that was cool. It's better than sitting around a group all day. It's better than watching shitty movies all day. It's better than listening to this fucking guy tell a story again. So that also, we hope, sparks the interest that when they get out of treatment, that they know that this is a possibility for them. And then we also do, like, one-offs, I call them. So right now, those of us who are crazy enough to go in the river go, but when it's warmer, we'll do like a flash kind of, email blast, throw it up on Facebook, Instagram, and say, we've got 6 spots in a raft. First 6 people to respond get to go for free.
Nice.
So we want to turn it on to the people in early recovery that, if you don't have the money, just come.
So throw out the address to the Dopey Nation, because I'm sure there's a few heads in Connecticut that would love to jump on the raft.
So the Instagram is not hashtag. How's it work? @AR Adventure Recovery. what's cool about that story is the adventure recovery is taken by some gal in like Europe who's in eating disorder recovery. So it's kind of cool. But anyway, ours is AR, Adventure Recovery, and then we're on Facebook as Adventure Recovery, right? So just straight up Adventure Recovery. And you can hit me up directly at timw@Adventure Recovery, and then we're adventurerecovery.com.
Yeah, and if anybody couldn't keep up with that, just write me and I'll plug you right in. I'll hook you up with Tim.
Yeah, there you go.
It's awesome.
And you know, in general, our goal is to get people outside doing fun shit. So, you know, if people want to get involved, hit us up. We'd love to have you.
Well, you're a good egg, Tim.
And by the way, Dave, that goes to you especially. You know,
dude, I gotta get out there.
Concrete jungle.
Dude, I gotta river surf, man. If the Dopey Nation wants to see me die, you'll see me river surfing in Connecticut. I'll be the one person where the helmet pops off and my head smashes on the rocks. It'll be me. And then you'll take me home and you'll say to Linda, you'll be like, I don't know what happened. I figured he'd be okay.
I told him everything what to do.
Yeah.
He didn't listen.
Yeah. No, I one day I will come up and I will fucking become a dirtbag with you guys because I need to do that kind of stuff.
Get back in the sweat lodge too, bro.
No, I want to do it. I'm just like fucking between this and the restaurant and work and family and blah, blah, blah. But I will find time. I swear, I don't just say that. I've been looking for a reason. No, because I never even went back to Mountainside. And like, I have reason to go back. You know what I mean? Like, I would like to go back. I would like to go to that, whatever alumni meeting. I would like to show up in Great Barrington. Like we've put down a bit of roots and I would like to honor them, even though I never honor my roots. I would like to. I think that sounds good. I like all your stuff, man. I think it's awesome. And I
appreciate that, brother.
I'm happy to be in your stratosphere, in your orbit. I love to see it. And I love that there's an invitation. It makes me happy.
And bring the family, by the way. My kids are great with little ones, and we have plenty of room, so come. I mean it. It's a very, very, very honest invitation.
Well, when it gets warmer, I will take you up on it.
And for all you dopey fiends out there who are thinking like, oh shit, I'm going to go shack up in Tim's fucking backyard, I know you guys, you know, think twice because my wife does know how to use a gun.
Well, there you go.
But in all seriousness, we believe that if you can get out there safely, one of the fundamental concepts of working in the wilderness is you learn the skills to participate in your own rescue someday. And what better metaphor for recovery, right?
Dude, do you ever watch Naked and Afraid?
Oh yeah, all the time.
I got my daughter and my wife character hooked on this show, and they're always wondering like, what could we do? Like, do you teach any of the primitive survival stuff, fire making and whatever?
Yeah.
You do?
Totally.
Oh, dude, we'll come up this summer for a little clothed and afraid time in the woods.
Absolutely.
All right, cool, man.
Absolutely.
Love to hear you. Thank you so much for coming on, and I hope somebody got something out of your sincerely full of shit ass. But
I hope so too. And I'm sorry, Dopey, Nation, that we didn't get too dopey on this one, but next time for sure.
All right, right on, man. Thanks, Tim.
Right. Stay strong.
All right, yes, sir. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Later on. Thanks, man.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, so that was not your classic dopey guest. That was the great Tim Walsh. He was Chris's grand sponsor. And now we're going to settle back into some normal dopey if you guys are all suffocating on the spirituality. We have on the phone the great Emily. Can I say your last name? Yeah, I can say your last name.
Yeah.
Emily Sullivan, the great writer of the amazing Dopey Vice piece. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thanks for having me on again.
You don't have to thank me. This isn't Jay Leno. You don't have to thank me. You don't have to thank me for having you on.
Well, I'm happy to be on again, though.
Emily we were just talking. I'm happy to hear on too. And I'm sure you'll be on again. Probably when I run out of people, I'm sure I'll text you and say, "Do you have a dopey story? Because I'm in trouble."
Yeah.
So fucking me and Emily were just talking about the old Dopey Nation Facebook, and Emily was talking about the last time she was on the show, and that and she felt the sting of the Dopey Nation.
I mean, only one little prick. Everybody else was perfectly nice.
Well,
there was the one comment that I got super butthurt about.
Okay.
You know, the girl, she tweeted. She didn't go on the Facebook, but she tweeted, you know, motherhood versus addiction, like, give me a break. And I just felt kind of like, what the hell? I mean, you always say that you got clean for your family.
But
so.
that wasn't the Dopey Nation Facebook. That was the Twitter. That was a woman.
Twitter.
No, but that woman, that was really sad. That was a woman who couldn't get clean for her children. Remember? She was like...
I know, and I felt terrible about that, but I felt like she was mad at me for saying that's what ultimately made me, you know, come to my senses, having babies.
Well, I think, like, you know, something that I keep talking about more and more and more, and it just is, it seems more and more obvious, is that you don't know what's going to get somebody straight. Like, it's going to be like a kid for one person, it's going to be a girlfriend for another person, it's going to be the way shoes look, or, you know, the way pizza tastes. You can never fucking anticipate,
right,
like, what it's going to be, you know, which is annoying. And very frustrating. And I'm sure it's annoying to me because Chris died and Todd died and half the Dopey Nation is relapsing, and, you know, like, and the other half is using and angry that I'm preaching recovery and AA. And then the other half is like, yeah, we go to AA right on, you know, or whatever, you know, but like, and I know you don't go to AA, but.
No, but I did for 2 years, and I'm not anti-AA. I actually learned a lot from AA and NA, and I value the time that I had there. It's not my deal now. But, you know, it is part of me getting better. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is on whatever their path is. Like, the dude who was just on was talking about how AA or NA is like the last stop. You know what I mean? Like when you need the last stop, it's there.
Right.
You know, and you don't need the last stop. So and it gave you some, you know, probably gave you a kick in the ass, and it gave you like a look at yourself, and it gave you some tools, and, you know, you've been able to move on. I mean, Emily got a fucking a memoir deal in the pike. Emily's an amazing inspiration to the Dopey Nation.
I'm writing my proposal right now. I don't have the deal yet. He has to read the proposal first. But I will say, I think the proposal's coming along pretty well.
It's amazing. And is it? Would you say it's a drug memoir?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, it's funny because I wrote my first chapter sample, and it's all about my preschool self. And then, like, in the second chapter, I'm already, like, doing ecstasy and coke and shroom. It's like, that's a quick jump, but it was a quick jump, really. Was
it true that your book is so hardcore that it makes My Fair Junkie look like Little Women?
No.
That's not
crazy.
True? Are you saying that your memoir is so hardcore that it makes Amy Dresner's memoir look like Little House on the Prairie? Is that true?
Amy, I never said these things.
No,
he's making this up on the fly.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But Amy supposedly was very helpful in your.
She was.
Yeah,
my gosh.
She's a very helpful woman. She was trying to. I've been baiting Mackenzie Phillips on Twitter today.
I saw that. I was following that, actually.
You know, I just want Mackenzie Phillips on Twitter because, you know, I'm much older than you, and I'm much older than a lot of the Dopey Nation. But when I was a kid, she was on this show called One Day at a Time. And One Day at a Time had this amazing theme song. And in my dream, I learn how to play it on guitar, and Mackenzie Phillips sings it with me. You know,
I could see that.
Mackenzie, it's not going to happen. You know, in fact, Mackenzie, Dr. Drew's wife, who has been incredibly helpful in Dopey, and she's brought in tons of guests and has been always like, you know, a sympathetic ear and a helpful friend of the show. Texted me. She's like, "You got to leave Mackenzie Phillips alone. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to sing the song with you. Just leave her alone." And
really? Oh my gosh, why?
Because I'm annoying, Emily. If you know me, and if you know me through, I don't annoy you, and I don't annoy the Dopey Nation. But like once I like make a decision, Like, I annoy people. Like,
You're persistent.
Yes.
You're tenacious.
I am. I'm tenacious and I'm persistent. You know, and the newest one that I'm going to drive insane is Steve Jones, the guitar player from the Sex Pistols. So he has he has a radio show in Los Angeles called Jonesy's Jukebox. And when do you live in Los Angeles? Where do you live?
I live in the suburbs of Los Angeles, basically, yeah.
So I think it's 95.5.
I listened to Sunday Morning with the Beatles.
WCLS. What is it? WCLS? What is it? What's the station?
I don't know. It's 95.5.
But he talks like this. He goes, hello, this is Jonesy's Jukebox. Next we have Free with All Right Now. He's the best. I'm reading he wrote this book. He wrote an amazing drug memoir, and I really recommend it. It's called Lonely Boy. And it's fucking amazing. He's amazing. Amazing character, amazing drug addict, amazing musician. And in fact, I'm going to send you some Dopey stuff, and you can bring it by the radio station. Okay. What do you say?
Yeah, do it.
And you guys out there,
I have a stack of cards in my purse, Dopey and business cards.
What are you doing with them?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had anything to do with them yet, but just in case, they're there.
If you ever go get your hair cut, you should leave them at the hair salon.
Oh, okay.
You should leave them in weird places.
Well, what makes you want them there?
That's my new thing. Is I leave Dopey cards in weird places. Like I left them at the bakery the other day at Magnolia Bakery, because
you know what? I can see that though, because in my junkiest days, I spent time at home and at the bakery. Really.
Exactly. Really?
Yeah. Yeah. I lived off of chocolate cupcakes with peanut butter frosting for a year straight.
Yeah, me too. I mean, that was my whole thing. I had my Entenmann's diet where I'd have a cake for lunch and a cake for breakfast and then a not healthy dinner.
Right.
That was my thing. And but
that's a lot of food for a junkie.
Oh, dude, I was the fattest junkie. No, I was the fattest junkie in the world. I was the fattest I've ever been when I was on the most heroin, because all I did was sit around and eat and get high.
That's weird.
I didn't starve. I was the opposite, you know. And
interesting.
Chris said he was the only cokehead that gained weight while he did coke. But Artie Lang said that too. And what I really want is I want to get, because the Dopey Nation seems kind of interested in participating in this Dopey podcast, Dopey Nation Street Team, and I've ordered thousands of stickers and I have thousands of cards, and I'm ready. Not the fancy stickers, not those really fancy stickers, but I'm ready to give out the cheap stickers to people who are willing to vandalize America on behalf of Dopey.
Okay.
So
you should do it.
Yeah, I'm just letting them know. Now, Emily, you are on
I could put a Dopey sticker in Wahoo's.
What is that?
You don't know what Wahoo's is?
No.
Okay, Wahoo's Fish Tacos. It's owned by Travis Barker from Blink-182.
Yeah.
They're all over SoCal. There used to be one right across the street from this rehab I went to in Laguna, and I used to walk there and get taquitos, and they have stickers on their walls. So if I put it there, they would just leave it there because they wouldn't even notice. Yeah,
that sounds like a good idea. And we can multiply that by hundreds of people in the Dopey Nation who want to participate, and then people could see the word Dopey and not know what it's about. I should probably put it up with the website, but I don't think it looks good with the website. I don't think a sticker with a website is a good sticker. Do you have a feeling about this, or do you not care?
I think you could have both. I mean, no. I really like your stickers, though. You have some good stickers, to be honest.
Dude, we have two new stickers coming. We have the big bird with legs.
Yes.
Coming, smoking a cigarette, and we have the praying mantis Dopey. Yeah. So we have a big, pretty extensive sticker pack, which I'm very proud of. I like the stickers too. I'm into the stickers. But I will send free.
I have one on my laptop.
Which one do you have?
I have the one that they used for the cover art for the article.
Ah, with the train.
Yes.
That was, I think.
But it's the whole picture, at least, so you can see the cemetery and stuff.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. We're not going to go down that Vice road again.
I know, we were so mad about that.
Yeah, but that story was huge, and it was incredibly moving to me that it got made and that you did such a good job with it. So I really appreciate that. And that is why I'm forever in your debt. So, but I want you to hit us with a Dopey story. Give us a little Dopey story in time for the holidays. Oh, but there was something else I wanted to ask you, but give us the Dopey story first. Fuck it.
Well, no, are you sure?
I wanted to ask about, because once in a while I'll peruse the Dopey Nation Facebook page, and I saw the uproar over the Andy Dick appearance on Dopey.
Oh, yes.
And I saw your comment about some roommate or something, Andy Dick.
My neighbor, when I lived in Hollywood, told me that he once lived with Andy Dick and that he was really creepy and tried to fuck everybody that he lived with constantly.
Well, he said he was a sex addict. It seemed like it was all shtick, but it's obviously true. That's not the first time I've heard this story.
No, this guy said he was like a teenager and Andy Dick like wouldn't get off of his dick, basically. And he was just this like teenage straight guy, and he's like, dude, and finally he couldn't take it anymore and he moved out.
Well, I would move out if there was a sex-crazed gay guy that wouldn't leave me alone. That's a good reason to move out. But, like, everybody hated Andy Dick on Dopey. And I
saw that. I didn't listen to it, though, yet. I've been stuck on the Mark Moran one. I've been having to finish it in the car, and I can't listen to it around the girls anymore, so...
Oh, yeah, you can't listen to that around the girls. Definitely not. The Andy Dick one, it was a painful interview. It was not an easy interview. And when I was done with it, I didn't think I was going to air it. But then a couple people liked it, and then I kind of decided that I liked it too. But it was hard to do. And I understand why other people hate it, because while I did it, I hated it. But everyone
seemed to think you did a good job, though.
Well, people are just nice. People are kind. I don't know how good a job I did. I just think that Andy Dick is, first of all, he is he's a comedic. I don't know if he's a comedic genius, but he's a comic great, and he deserves our compassion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He is a sick and suffering fucking alcoholic, and we did not catch him at his best. And he was still gracious enough to come on Dopey and get a little bit honest. And a lot of people he was he was trying to talk a lot about Chris's death, and people thought it was him attacking me. But I really think he was just looking for common ground, And then he was drunk and retarded, and he couldn't really make sense of it. And the Dopey Nation took umbrage with it, and I don't blame them, But I think more than anything, I'm grateful to anybody who comes on the show, especially Andy Dick, who certainly doesn't have to. Although the funniest part is that I asked him to promote the show. And he said he would, and then in the next sentence, he was asking me if I would pay him to promote the show, which I thought was just. I just think stuff like that is just, you can't make that shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I say I know that I will revisit Andy Dick, even though the Dopey Nation hated it, and hopefully I was preaching AA at Andy Dick, and half the Dopey Nation who's not in AA was just dude, why do you have to talk about AA all the time? And the other half was Andy Dick is too stupid to listen to you, and we don't want him on again. But I think he'll get sober, and I think once he gets sober, he'll be an amazing guest on Dopey. I think we broke the ice. That's what I think.
Well, I wish only the best for Andy Dick.
Yeah, me too. So the holidays are coming up, and I wanted this episode to be about relapsing in the holidays, and it really hasn't been that. But we were talking, and you said that you were a masterful relapser.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, when I was in AA, I was in AA for 2 years, and I was a repeat. I was a newcomer the entire time I was in AA, so that just shows you how often I relapsed. I mean, I had hundreds of chips, and people who don't understand AA think oh, you look at all these chips, that's a great thing. Well, it's not that great, because after you get 30, you're supposed to get a 60 and a 90 and a 6 months and everything else. But no, I had just an endless supply of newcomer chips.
Right.
Yeah, I did. But the story I have for you that I wanted to tell tonight, the Christmas spirit story, is not really a relapse story because it was like definitely in the depths of my addiction.
Even better.
But it's Christmassy because it happened on Christmas. And okay, so to give you some backstory, my mom is like Martha Stewart, but prettier and funnier and cooler. And every year during Christmas time, the house is just like decked, and it's so decorated, the inside and outside, and you walk in for the whole month of December, it smells like apple cider and home-cooked meals, and it's just, there's music always playing, and it's fabulous, you know, so I always grew up that way. And every year, Christmas is the most exciting time of year. So this one year, my first year as a junkie, I ran away to Hollywood.
And you were a heroin addict, and you were a meth addict, right?
Yes, but at this point, I was just a heroin addict, and I was just first starting to dabble with meth. I hadn't really developed my full-blown meth addiction at this point, but so, okay, I had ran away to Hollywood, and I was living, like, right off Hollywood Boulevard, off of Cherokee, right off the side there, and I had a studio, and it was me and my ex-boyfriend, and this guy, Dave, who lived in our kitchen. he lived in our dining room, kind of, and he had, like, a curtain pinned up, and I was super sad about being away from my family for the holidays, but they wouldn't talk to me, so I just kind of stayed away, and I tried to make the best of it. I made, like, Christmas stockings for everyone out of old pajama pants, and one of the guys that I sold heroin to, one of my neighbors, like, showed up one day with a Christmas tree and was like, hey, I thought you might like this. I found it on the side of the road, and I thought of you. And I was like, oh, sweet. So I had a Christmas tree. We had these stockings. Like, we did our best of decorations. And a week before Christmas, my ex-boyfriend came and stayed with us. And he stayed with us all week, and he did a lot of meth. And so we were all junkies, but he came and brought a bunch of meth.
Wait, hold on. Who's living in the house?
Okay, so it's a studio off Hollywood, and it's me and my ex-boyfriend / ex-husband, and
father of your children.
No.
Okay, different.
No, my fiance is the father of my
children. Right.
children.
Okay, biological, whatever you want to say.
He's a sperm donor.
Okay.
I don't even like to say that.
Okay. Just, I'm sorry. Relax. You know what I mean. I'm not diminishing your fiance.
No.
I'm just trying to get the story straight.
I would never describe him that way.
Right.
Like, you know, yes, that's how I got pregnant, but no.
Do you ever see him around?
No, he's from Sacramento.
And he's gone?
He's gone,
okay.
Yes. I think he's almost in prison, if he's not already in prison.
If he died, would you find out?
Yes, because his mother and his sister and his stepdad all come and visit my daughters.
Right.
And
so they're not the sperm donors, blah, blah, blah. They're grandma and the uncle and the aunt, right? Okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because his mom always says that, like, I'm her daughter and then my fiance is her son-in-law. Like, they don't talk to him either. He's like a total loser. It's, they don't even talk to him. So,
well, he's another fucking sick and suffering drug addict, Yeah. Come on.
Whatever.
I hear you.
Right.
Okay, I'm with you. Keep going. I'm sure he's, like, listening to Dopey. I'm sure he's, like, big on the Dopey Nation page and, like, anyway.
Right. No. He's probably in prison. Last I heard, he was going to prison. So, anyways.
So you're living in this house, in this studio apartment in Hollywood with him, yes. And who else?
So it's him and this guy he worked with named Dave.
Right.
And Dave was a bouncer at the Whiskey A Go-Go.
Okay.
They were both bouncers at the Whiskey A Go-Go. And I worked at the Rainbow.
What'd you do there?
I was a server.
Okay.
And so we're just like, it's the Whiskey and then the Roxy and then the Rainbow. So it's right on the strip there. So we'd work and then we'd go home every night. And that's how we met Dave. And he ended up moving into our kitchen because he, like, came to LA with, like, $10 from New York. He was this, like, Puerto Rican guy from the Bronx. He was really cool. I love Dave. But, so we're all living there, and then my ex-boyfriend, Ryan, comes to stay with us for the week. And, he did a bunch of meth, so he brought a bunch of meth with him. and gave us all a bunch of meth. And we ended up being up for like the whole 5 days before Christmas. And I remember even on Christmas Eve, like, nobody was asleep. We were all basically looking out the window, like, totally just cracked the fuck out, waiting for the sun to come up. And then when the sun came up, we were like, oh, Merry Christmas. Like, let's open presents, you know?
And did everybody get meth in a box for their present?
No.
I think you're going to like your present this year.
I know, it's a real white Christmas day. No, we gave each other like random little gifts, and I got this white, it was almost like felt, but it wasn't really felt, trench coat, like pea coat kind of deal. And my ex at the time was super constipated because of all the heroin, so he spent like the entire day in the bathroom.
Right.
And I was so just like annoyed with him being in the bathroom for 10 hours because I wasn't sure if it was the meth and he was like freaking out or if he really was constipated or whatever. So I was getting annoyed. I ended up leaving and walking my ex to the bus stop because he was going back home. So I walk him to the bus stop, drop him off, and then on the way back, I'm passing this like giant bush off of Cherokee right off Hollywood Boulevard. And for some reason it pops in my head, you know, mind you, I've been on meth for like 5 days, that if people were going to get pulled over by the cops or they saw cops coming, they would definitely throw their drugs into this bush. And so I thought for sure if I went inside that bush, I would find all kinds of drugs. So in my brand new white Christmas pea coat, I crawl into this bush and spend like 3 hours in this bush searching for drugs that I'm sure that people ditched,
right,
trying to like not get arrested.
This is the most harebrained. I mean, I was a heroin addict for many years. I don't think I've ever heard of a plan this stupid before. But keep going. I'm with you, Emily.
Okay, this is the meth, not the heroin.
Okay.
This is like the meth that did this to me.
Uh-huh.
So I come out of the bush and I look like, you know, Pigpen from Charlie Brown at this point.
Yeah.
And my brand new white coat is ruined and it's covered in dirt and all, you know, torn up.
Yeah.
So I go back to the place, and Dave and my boyfriend were like, oh, where have you been? What's wrong with you? Look at you. You look crazy. And I tried to explain, but, you know, we ended up getting in this big fight. And the fight escalated. It got super violent, and I ended up running away. And it's nighttime by this point, and there's like no one on Hollywood Boulevard. It's totally deserted. And I'm like crying because the fight was so gnarly and so violent, and I have mascara all down my face and my weird white coat. I look like Pigpen, and I just start running all over Hollywood, and I'm like so lost in this meth-induced psychosis at this point that I'm convinced that there's these like 4 dudes chasing me through Hollywood. So I'm just like nonstop running up and down Hollywood Boulevard.
And you like, just to set the scene though, you had that crazy Amy Winehouse hair then, right? You were
yes.
like
I look like Amy Winehouse.
You were like this sort of greaser chick.
Yes.
Like, yeah, Amy Winehouse hair, like
black hair, red lips, tattoos.
Yeah.
In this white pea coat.
Filthy, dirty, running. So less like, it's like if Amy Winehouse was Pigpen, not really like Pigpen. If Amy Winehouse
was Amy Winehouse, basically.
If Pigpen was like a woman with big hair, tattoos, tank top, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
You know, when I worked at the Rainbow, people used to stop me and be like, you know, you look so much like Amy Winehouse, except of course you don't do heroin. And I'd be like, oh no, of course not.
Right.
You know. Oh my God. But okay, so anyways, I'm running through Hollywood, and I'm like scaling 2-story chain link fences. I end up losing my house keys, losing my car keys, and I'm just running from these non-existent men chasing me through Hollywood. There's like literally no one on the streets. And then I run into this super old white-haired guy with like long white beard, and he's like, whoa, stop, are you okay? And I have like mascara tears streaming down my face, and I'm like, no, there's these guys chasing me and I'm trying to get away and blah blah blah. And he's like, hey, calm down, just come to my house. I'll give you some water, you can sleep on my couch. And I like stopped for a second, and I was like, should I don't know. And then I was like, no. And he's like, no, I'll help you. I was like, or you'll murder me, you know?
Yeah.
And, and he was like, okay. And then I ran away. So I ended up spending Christmas night behind a dumpster hiding. And I remember thinking that all of the trash was like bags of drugs and that I could like collect it and sell it. And then I had like hit this gold mine because I found this dumpster filled with bags of drugs.
Right.
And I just hid behind this dumpster all night, like thinking I'd found this gold mine until I started like kicking from not doing heroin for however many hours. And so then I had to run home and like make up with everyone just so I could get a fix and not be sick.
Well, that is a very dopey Christmas.
Right?
Very, very much so. You know,
yeah.
I can imagine the Santa character, you know, and he's like,
right? How weird is that?
Oh,
I didn't even make that connection.
Yeah, the Santa character was like, I really like Back to Black. When are you going to record your next Valerie? Would you come over and sing to me? And that was the smartest. I think the dumbest decision out of the story to me was getting in the bush, looking for the drugs. And the smartest decision was not going with the Santa character. But I like that story. And I think the Dopey Nation will too.
Well, you know, and not long after that, because that was when I was really like, okay, like shit's getting wild. Not long after that, it was only a couple weeks later that I decided to check myself into rehab. And I literally ran away from Hollywood.
And that was the end of that. And you were pregnant.
No, I relapsed after that and then went on for another year and a half. And then I got pregnant.
Right.
Maybe even 2 years. Yeah, no, but the first time that I checked myself into rehab was after that.
Well, I think that is an amazing story. And I thank you for contributing, and I thank you for being a part of the team over down at Dopeyland.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah.
And
happy to be here.
What's the worst thing? Like, because I don't really care about the good stuff. What's the worst thing that's happened on Dopey in the past, 10 episodes or so? Like, what was something you were like, damn, I wish they hadn't done that?
Oh.
The worst thing, Emily. The worst.
Worst thing, I feel like I need to pull it up to, like, look at the past episodes and remind myself.
No, and I don't need to push if that hard. But I always like to hear the bad stuff. Okay, what's the best thing? What was your favorite thing?
Oh, well, I loved Amy, and then obviously like Mark Moran coming on.
But does he have to? His name is Mark Maron, Emily, not Mark Moran. You know who is okay. Moran is the woman who played Joni on Happy Days. It was Erin Moran, but he is Mark Maron. You liked him? I thought he was good.
God, I love him.
You heard Aurora thought I was not a good interviewer. She thought I was not true to myself. But I think she was wrong. I think Aurora's just kind of a hater, No,
I think you were great. I loved that interview. I loved it. Super loved it.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it.
And I didn't think that, because you were talking about how Howard Stern, like, gets all butthurt if somebody's threatening him. And I felt like you totally held your own against Mark. I thought it was great.
My favorite part of that episode was when he said it was my favorite part of the episode. Nobody noticed, but we were talking about Howard Stern, and I told him that I listened to him when he was on Stern, and he was like, "Oh, did you think it was good?" And I was like, "Yeah, I thought it was great." And he goes, "Well, he never asked me back on." That was like my favorite. That was my favorite moment of that interview, because I felt like he was like neurotic and insecure in that moment, which obviously
he was showing his vulnerability.
Yeah,
where he's like this big star. So yeah.
Which I loved. But why don't you, I thank you for calling, and thank you for giving us some Dopey. Why don't you wish the Dopey Nation a Merry pre-Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah. It's more of a Hanukkah time now when this episode is out, because we're right at Hanukkah. You know anything about Hanukkah?
A little bit.
It was a miraculous time where the candles were only supposed to burn for a few hours, and they burned for 8 days. And now,
do you have any like horrifying Hanukkah stories?
No, I mean, all of my stories were the same. Like, I didn't want to get sober, so I just kept using. You know what I mean? Like, I think I was in rehab a couple of Christmases, and I always, like, the saddest thing to me is because I'm a huge Christmas fan. Like, I love Christmas.
Really?
I love Christmas. I love the music. In New York, Christmas is really special.
Oh, yeah. I've been there, yes.
It's like very like picturesque, and the lights, and it's cold and all that shit. And I know that when I always hated being high. Oh, I actually do have a Christmas Dopey story. I don't know if I ever told it. Everybody thought I was clean, and or they didn't think I was on heroin. And I had started using heroin again, and obviously me and Linda were separated. And I went to one of my friend's Christmas parties, and this is not much of a story, but all I know is that when I was using, I always carried the dope in my jeans pocket, in that little pocket.
Oh, yeah. The dope pocket.
Yeah, in the dope pocket. and I just remember I was with all my friends, and we would go to my friend Rob's house since I was 5 or 6 years old. I would go to the same place. And I just know that, like, all I wanted to do was go home and get high on the heroin. And that's the fucked up thing about the heroin was, like, I don't remember it as a bad thing. I remember it as when I left that house, how happy I was to go home and get to do the heroin, you know what I mean? And not be a part of anything. And how, it's so fucked up because all we talk about in recovery is gratitude and this and that. But I remember how grateful I was to have it. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it's fucked up. And I remember, like, a lot of those years, I think I had 3 years or something, 2 or 3 years in an apartment on the Lower East Side. And in the winter, I was very much just locked away, and it would snow and it would be cold. And I had enough money to be I had as much dope as I wanted. And I was just so happy that I had it. You know what I mean? Like, I never really spun out until it was just overwhelmingly bad and I had to go away. So it's not, but...
because when it's good,
It wasn't good, though. I was just so happy to be checked out and not broke,
It feels like it fixes everything that's wrong. It feels like it's there for a reason. It fills a void. It fills the hole in your soul.
It did fill a void. And it was like, I don't know. I'm sick, though. Like, I enjoyed, like, getting high and watching TV and eating and you think that's enough, and maybe it is for a little while, but it never lasts. You know what I mean? And it only gets to terrible, terrible, terrible places, which we both are very well aware of.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and I know I told this story, but I'm going to tell it again because I can't believe it. Like, I had just gotten paid, and it was Christmas time, and I had all this money, and I spent $300 on 4 bundles, and I put the 4 bundles in like an inside pocket of my jacket, and I was like, I'm gonna go out and buy new sneakers or buy boots or something, and I went out to buy sneakers or boots, and I also like was going Christmas shopping, like I bought candles and a hoodie, and I was like just spending money, Yeah. And I'm at the shoe store. And I had a bunch of money from waiting tables. During Christmas, you make a lot of money. And I'm at the shoe store, and I lost the 4 fucking bundles. I lost all of it.
That's insane.
And I start retracing my steps to find it. And I'm like, and then I felt that twinge. And I was just like, fuck it. And I just called the dealer straight away, and I bought it again. That's
oh my
like,
God, that would make me go insane.
Well, I still think like the bundles are there in this fucking shoe store that just closed down. You know what I mean? I'm like, there's fucking, it's just one of those stupid things. But, I am super grateful to be clean and sober, and, it's just one of those things, right?
Yeah, yep.
Thank you very much for calling in, and thank you for being a part of everything. And we always need your opinions, okay?
Okay.
And also, we could use another article, so maybe you should start feeling around to Time Magazine or something. We need more press.
Okay, I'll work on that.
Thank you.
I've got to get people to like even open my email, so.
That's not true. Everybody wants to read your emails.
Well.
You have a big book coming out. It's going to make Amy Winehouse's My Fair Junkie look like
Amy Winehouse.
What's her face? Amy Dresner. Do you know what I'm saying? I can't do the joke again. I couldn't think of another. I couldn't think of a blander book than Little Women. That joke will stand.
That was good, though. No, that was good. I liked it. That was funny. I actually ordered Amy's book today.
Dude.
Because, I almost felt guilty that I hadn't already. Amy Dresner's book.
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I can't wait to read it. She sent me her book proposals to help me write mine because I hit her up and I was like, I don't know how to do this. What do I do? And she was so helpful.
She's an incredibly generous spirit, and she wants to help anybody she can. And she's, if she was a dude, we call her a mensch. A Jew would call her a mensch. I don't know what you would call a woman in that situation, but she's a good woman, and she's very generous. And two other recovery memoirs that I definitely recommend besides My Fair Junkie are Steve Jones, Lonely Boy, and if the Dopey Nation is out there, please pester Steve Jones to come on Dopey. He'll be the most amazing guest. And then this book by Kat Marnell. Have you heard of that?
I'm reading that right now. Yeah, I'm reading it right now.
Her voice, I think, is just amazing.
Yeah, usually I read books to help me get ready for bed at night, and I can stay up all night reading her. Her
voice is so compelling, and it's so young. She has this very young voice, and it's called How to Assassinate My Life, right?
No, How to Murder Your Life.
How to Murder Your Life. And she was like, out of nowhere, she hit me up on Twitter, and she said, I want to come on Dopey, and she gave me her number, and we were gearing up to have her come on, and then at the last second, she said she had an opportunity to go to Cuba, and she wasn't going to be able to come on Dopey, and she went to Cuba, and then she said she was going to come on Dopey. And then at the last second, she said she was having insomnia and she couldn't come on Dopey. So I just fucking called her. You know what I mean? I just called her because I had her number, and I was feeling kind of like full of myself. And she felt bad about Chris, and she wanted to participate in Dopey. And me being the idiot that I am, I was just like, so are you clean? That was the first thing I said to her. And she said that basically she's clean, that she only takes Vyvanse during the day, which I thought was a great answer to are you clean?
Right.
And that was the last I ever heard of Kat Marnell. And I write Kat Marnell like once every 2 weeks, and I haven't heard back. So, Kat Marnell, I know you're not listening, but Dopey Nation, bug Kat Marnell and Steve Jones. Fuck it.
Yeah.
And
she's great.
And thank you, Emily.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. And Dopey Nation, have a very Merry Christmas and a Happy Hanukkah.
Nice. And we'll talk soon, Emily. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye. All right, so we're going to wind down another exciting episode of the Dopey Podcast. I want to thank Tim Walsh, who was Chris's grand sponsor, not his grandfather. I'm an idiot. I want to thank Emily Sullivan, who's an amazing writer and not using now heroin addict. And I'm sure her memoir will be fucking fire, like Amy Dresner's and Kat Marnell's and Steve Jones, and my future amazing junkie memoir, which I plan on starting sometime next year, hopefully. Still love the show. Love your guys' participation. Fucking much love to Andy Dick and the sick and suffering out there. All the relapsing members of the Dopey Nation. You know who you are. My thoughts and hope is with you, and my prayers are with you. Like the people who bash AA in the Dopey Nation, stay strong. If you're struggling and you want some help, go to a fucking meeting. Talk to somebody who's clean. I always say that, but it's true. Everybody who's clean wants to hear from anybody who's suffering because it gives us something to do. So, shoot me a line. Shoot anybody in the Dopey Nation with some time a line. And that's it, man. I think I'm going to read this fucked up, super crazy email before we're done because it is Dopey after all, and I didn't read it yet. So... here we go. This dopey occurrence was during a raggedly time of mine. Raggedly time, I like that. I was deep in my heroin addiction, but on top of shooting dope several times a day and chewing a few blues, I guess that's speed. I don't know. People still chew blues, or blues like one, or blues some sort of Valium. I don't know. I found myself eating street ecstasy pills more and more often. The X started out as a random, yeah, sure, let me just grab a couple, just because a dealer was selling them in a bar that I frequently went in to shoot up in their bathroom. The one bartender I thought was cute, and I wasn't drawn, so she didn't mind me using the bathroom. Every now and then, she'd hassle me for being in there too long, but for the most part, she was cool. Come to think of it, I actually started buying the X pills as a way to patronize the bar, if that makes sense. Like the dealer had something going with the bar. So me buying X was like me buying a drink, basically. I was a paying customer and now more welcome to use the restroom to go bang up. Anyway, back to my story. It starts out a normal day where I was headed to buy X after I picked up a bundle. But on my way, I stopped and bought new stripper boots. I went to the bar and bought my pills, and before going into the bathroom, I asked if I could put my bag behind the bar. Well, that someone struck up a conversation with one of the customers, a younger girl, probably my age, attractive and flirting with me. She was asking where I danced and was all interested in me. Somehow it ends up that her and I walked to buy Xannies. I don't want to walk around the hood with a huge shoebox carrying stripper boots, so I left them at the bar. I remember the bartender trying to catch my eyes, and she looked at me like, "Yo, be careful." She seemed concerned, as if I was asking for trouble, being so trusting to hang out with this strange girl. But in my mind, I'm the trouble because I'm the junkie. This girl is just trying to take pills and smoke a blunt. Anyhow, we got our pills, I chewed mine up, and we were walking around. From here it gets foggy. Remember, I had already eaten X and slammed dope. I have flashes of memory of her, and I walking around and dudes walking up to us that I must have blacked out. I remember waking up thinking, damn, what's in my bed? And then I opened my eyes, still fogged out from being high, so I didn't know if I was awake or dreaming. I felt shit poking my back, and that woke me up. I sat up, looking around, and I'm by myself, naked, sitting in broken glass inside the bedroom of an abando. My bag was gone, pants gone, shoes gone, but there was a t-shirt lying next to me, which was weird because it didn't look like it had been there. It didn't look like it was there amongst the rubble. It was clean. So, of course, I put on this t-shirt, and luckily it was long enough to where I could stand up and sort of be covered. I probably would have been crying from fear if I wasn't so confused, like what the fuck happened. I tiptoed to the window to try and see what neighborhood I was in so I could come up with a plan. I couldn't just walk outside half naked without any direction or plan. I looked outside and found that in the moment I was the luckiest junkie ever. Directly across the street was a friend's house, a Puerto Rican woman I knew well that had always been really nice to me. So, I got to know her because I bought my dope right next to her house. So I see that I'm at least somewhere safe at that point. I had to carefully find my way out of this shithole house. Glad everywhere, splintered wood. Total nightmare. It's a miracle I didn't need stitches on the bottom of my feet. In fact, I barely had a scratch. I scrambled across the street and had to knock on her door from the neighbor's stoop because her porch was caged in and locked. Her son answered and let me in and then woke her up. I showered and she found clothes of mine I had left there, so I got dressed and went to the hospital to get a rape kit. I didn't feel that I had been raped but needed to be sure and got checked because who knows what the fuck happened. Anyway, I was fine, thankfully. Afterwards, I remembered hearing about kids that were robbing junkies and taking all of their clothes so they wouldn't or couldn't come after them. I guess the logic is that if you're buck naked in the hood, your first concern will not be running after those that robbed you. Philly. Philly is a rough goddamn city. I wrote this really fast and would have preferred to put more care into doing this story justice, but I didn't want to wait. Forgive any sloppy grammar or poor wording. I'm at work and should be getting shit done. I really hope you like the story. I feel it's much better when I tell it in my voice. By the way, it's cool you work at blah, blah, blah. I know that's not supposed to be public knowledge, but you've blurted it out quite a few times. Next time I visit New York, I'll come get food. P.S. You are fucking hilarious. I find myself laughing alone like a hyena in a car. and people have seen me and started laughing themselves because I look so crazy. I love the infectiousness of laughter. If you want to share this story, please give me a heads up. I'd probably want to correct the grammar, and so it all sounds good. And my name is Amber. Thank you for Amber. Sorry I didn't correct the grammar. All of a sudden, the air in the attic is super, dusty, and I'm coughing and shit. But I appreciate the email. Love to get emails. Love to get voicemails. Send them in. Before we go, a lot of you guys have been pining away for music and have been asking for another version of Forever in Debt. And one day, I will give you a better version of Forever in Debt. But for now, in honor of Mackenzie Phillips not doing Dopey, I'm going to play for you the One Day at a Time theme song. And I didn't realize this at the time. I've always fucking loved the One Day at a Time theme song. And I've been around addiction forever, for a long time. And I never put it together that One Day at a Time and the cliche One Day at a Time were linked. But there's nothing I can do about it now. I'm just going to play the One Day at a Time theme song. This is it, this is it. This is life, the one you get. So go and have a ball. This is it, this is it. Straight ahead and rest assured, can't be sure at all. So while you're here, enjoy the view. Keep on doing what you do. Hold on tight, we'll muddle through. One day at a time, one day at a time. So up on your feet, up on your feet. Somewhere there's music playing. Don't you worry none, we'll just take it like it comes. One day at a time, one day at a time. One day at a time, na na na. One day at a time. One day at a time, na na na. One day at a time. So there you have it. That was the One Day at a Time theme song for Mackenzie Phillips, who probably will never do Dopey nor hear my rousing rendition of the One Day at a Time theme song. Stay strong, everybody. Fucking send in a brief yet fiery voicemail. That's funny. That would be awesome. Send in some art. Send in a tune. Just be involved. Here, another fucking Twitter request for Forever in Debt. It's amazing. I will oblige you guys eventually. It's on a bunch of episodes. It's on the first Lost tape. It's on the Christmas episode at the end. I'm not going to add another song now. It's crazy. Anyway, be in touch. Don't be strangers. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Reddit with Cormac and the gang. I love the Reddit crew. The Reddit crew is hardcore. I love the Twitter crew, the Green Berets of Dopey. Love the Instagram people and the Facebook people and the closed group people and whatever, man. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Stay strong and toodles for Chris. I want to take a walk around the world. I wonder would it do me any good? Until I get some money in my pocket, then I guess I'll just have to walk around my neighborhood. But I want to be good so bad. Want to be so good, so bad, so bad. I want to be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And I want to take a ride up in the sky. Watch this aeroplane just pass me by. And I want to see a Lear jetliner take a dive, just to show all of these people what it means to be alive. But I want to be good so bad. Want to be so good, so bad, so bad. I want to be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. And my shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to where I stand. Shadow's getting smaller and smaller. And it's time to where I stand. And I wonder would they pay it any mind when I leave this busted city far behind. I'll take the high road, however far it winds, because peace and love are very, very, very hard to find. And I want to be good so bad. Want to be good so bad, so bad. I wanna be good so bad. Bad desire's all I ever had. Damn it, all these suckers make me mad. And it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and I wanna call my dad, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had. And these suckers make me mad, and it's all I ever had, and I wanna call my dad, and it's all I ever had, and it's all I ever had. And it's all I ever had.